Hello again, I'm Stephen Jerome, and I'm going to continue reading from my third novel, The London Year. We're getting on to into the last third of the book, so, plowing through. This is part 90. It goes on a little long because I don't want to break up the scene that transpires. Well, let me just jump in and you can follow along with me. I hadn't seen Sebastian in several more days than usual. No sightings at the flat either. I assumed whatever work Finn had to do finishing the portrait, he was handling it by himself. Sebastian, the restaurant, was scheduled to open right about the time my visa expired. Tess and I were talking seriously about the future. Suddenly it felt like we were all on a deadline. Then Gracie called. Sebastian wanted me for another evening out. I was glad for the extra money, but mostly I was glad I hadn't blown it somehow, considering all the stuff going on behind the scenes between Gracie and Tess, all of which I now assumed got back to Sebastian eventually. I didn't think I'd misstepped, but now I wondered if I knew too much or was somehow deemed not loyal enough. Like so many things in all our lives, much was left unspoken. The stars were out in a cool, clear sky as Sebastian turned off the King's Road into the poshest section of Chelsea. I could see the Thames embankment at the end of the street. It was remarkable how, in big cities, the character of neighborhoods could change from block to block. I knew the general Chelsea area, but whizzing by on a double-decker bus, I realized I'd missed the atmospheric details, that which gave Chelsea its vibe. Still dripping in money, but hipper than stuffy Mayfair or Belgravia. We pulled up to a corner address. There was a man smartly dressed in a dark suit waiting discreetly, almost in shadows, at the top of stairs leading up to the front door. When he saw us, he turned to knock at the door, then came down to meet us. "This is it?" I asked. The place looked like a private home, a deserted one. "Evening, Sebastian," the man said quietly as Sebastian stepped out of the car, leaving the engine running. Only as the handsome man slipped into the driver's seat did I realize he was our valet, although there were no other cars around. As the car pulled away, I joined Sebastian on the sidewalk. We were totally alone. He gave me a wink as I followed him to the top of 6 stairs, where the black front door had the number 29 in brass numbers, but no suggestion of what was inside. This time it was the lack of commotion upon our arrival that seemed to be the point. Then the front door opened, and another handsome doorman greeted us. "Good evening, Sebastian," he said quietly as we stepped inside a small vestibule with a heavy curtain blocking further entrance. Once the front door was closed behind us, the doorman pulled aside the curtain, revealing a large, mellow-lit entry hall where an older, very tall, very thin black woman was approaching to greet us. She was dressed in a gold lame column dress that dropped from shoulder straps to the floor. Her hair was pulled back in a tight bun like a dancer's, which she had surely been in younger days. "Hello, darling," she said to Sebastian with an accent, African, Middle Eastern, I couldn't quite place. The entry hall had heavy curtains at intervals around the walls, revealing nothing about what was behind them. I heard soft modern jazz muffled in the background. "Ara, this is Terry," Sebastian said. "He's my mate for the night. I'd like him to get a few pictures for ambience." "Not a problem," she said, her voice like honey. Then she turned to me. "Just none of the other guests, Terry, all right?" "Not a problem," I said. When she heard my accent, Ara's eyes lit up. "You're American." "Yes, I am," I replied. "We love Americans." I should have stopped there, less being best in unfamiliar circumstances, but then more words spilled out. "I work at Harrods." So stupid, so apropos of nothing. I was trying to imply that I wasn't just an American tourist, but wouldn't that have been obvious here with Sebastian? Ara laughed, the deep, rich sound of a purring cat, putting me at ease. We love Harrods, don't we, darling? She said to Sebastian. He put his arm around my shoulder. Ah, but we have bigger things ahead, don't we, Terry? Ever the optimist, I said to Ara, trying to make the best of it. She purred again. We love optimists, too, she said. Just mind the rules. Thank you, I said, I will. This way, please. She led us across the entry hall, pulling aside a curtain that revealed a large sitting room where a dozen people were either seated or on comfortable couches or standing in small, huddled groups. The decor was all plush, muted gray and burgundy tones. There were more heavy curtains, drawn closed, on the two tall windows. Everyone was older than Sebastian. I was by far the youngest and felt the heat of scanning eyes as we crossed the room, heading straight to the bar on the opposite wall. A doughy, older man with blotchy red skin, tall, wearing an immaculate three-piece suit and heavy black-framed glasses, raised his whiskey glass discreetly. Sebastian nodded back, not breaking stride. The handsome bartender in black-tie tuxedo was already mixing drinks. Good evening, gentlemen, said the barman. How are you, Rudy? Oh, very well, sir. The usual? Yes, for me, Sebastian said, then winked in my direction, and something for my friend. Ah, yes, I have just the thing, he replied. I leaned toward Sebastian. Do you want a picture? Later, Terry. Let's settle first. He was right. The flash would have been entirely disruptive. This wasn't an art opening or even a party. It was more like a prelude, but to what I wasn't sure. There was almost an equal mix of men and women. They all looked pretty expensive. One was familiar. I'd photographed him on other occasions. Two I recognized from the newspapers. The blotchy older man with the heavy framed glasses kept casting his eyes Sebastian's way, almost begging for attention. Sebastian looked without expression. Who are these people? I whispered. Art dealers, business people, politicians, he whispered. Very useful. I still wasn't getting it. The background music from discreet speakers was some abstract, impressionist jazz. A frenetic saxophone wailed. The stop and start 5/4 rhythm rattled more than soothed. My drink, though mild, as Sebastian had ordered, somehow had the opposite effect. If this was heady company, that's a Joni Mitchell quote, I was beginning to feel it. What's the name of this place? I asked, still whispering. There's no name. I let that sink in, looking around. Yeah, I guess that's the point. Now you're getting it, Sebastian said behind his glass. Want to mingle? Just as we stepped away from the bar, a beautiful older woman came through the curtain from the lobby, followed by a tall, much younger man, ridiculously handsome, with exaggerated Roman features, the nose, the dark eyes, olive skin, and a rich head of wavy auburn hair, whom I immediately recognized as the current face for Valentino. When the woman saw Sebastian, she and her young companion came over, warm and smiling, ignoring everyone else in the room. They air-kissed, and I was introduced. Carla, this is Terry, my assistant. Oh, darling, she said, I'm sure you don't need any help. They all thought that was amusing. I'm just taking pictures, I said. Really? Carla turned to Sebastian, her expression aghast. Here? He's with me, Sebastian replied, as if that was the only explanation necessary. Well then, she said, looking me over, you must have something quite special. The innuendo needed no explaining. How about I began and reached under my jacket for my camera. Later, Terry, Sebastian said. Later, Carla said, laughing again. That's what Luca always says, don't you, darling? She brushed the lapel of her handsome companion's Valentino jacket. And I've been assisting him for years. Luca just smiled. I wonder if he spoke at all. I was getting the impression that the woman was his agent, and from her joking, probably a lot more. He didn't seem particularly bright, but with Carla managing his career, it may not have mattered. They were a team. It seemed she had the impression that Sebastian and I were the same kind of team. He said nothing to change her mind. As they chatted, I stood by quietly, marveling at the rare beauty of the two men before me. Luca's was almost as compellingly freakish as the monster I'd seen at the catacombs restroom. Let's leave it at that. All he had to do was show up and everybody noticed. But in terms of normal functionality, like that giant Luca was impractical, a distraction rendered almost useless by his exaggerated attributes. He needed Carla like a pet needs an owner, but he was her golden egg. By contrast, Sebastian's looks, while startlingly handsome, were also disarmingly earthbound. When he smiled, you felt included. He was almost approachable, in no need of a handler. A waiter approached, offering refills, the same usual for Sebastian and me, and 2 glasses of champagne for Carla and Luca. It seemed that their drink preferences were already known as well. Sebastian waved off the waiter, but I quickly exchanged my half-empty glass for a full one. I needed a prop more than I needed more alcohol, but drink I did, feeling like a fish out of water. The "oh darling" chatter wasn't putting me at ease, nor was the music, which had begun to prickle my ears like slightly irritating static. I watched as if from the sidelines, not entirely ignored, but nor was I one of them. A third suggestion of picture-taking was declined. With a quick shake of Sebastian's head, I slowly gleaned that whatever the night was about, it wasn't vanity portraiture. Only a real Andy Warhol could have gotten away with photography in this rarefied setting. Something else was going on, though I still didn't know what. I finally shifted my camera bag behind my back and out of mind. More people trickled in, including several more of Sebastian's political types who had beautiful women on their arms, probably not their wives. Some nodded a discreet hello. Solo guests were quickly absorbed into one group or another. The room was never crowded because people seemed to come and go quietly. More than cigarette smoke, the smell of secrets was in the air. And money. The abstract music, as much as the drinks, was starting to make my head spin. I seemed to be drifting in and out of focus. Like the guests, I decided it was time for a break. I excused myself on the pretext of needing a restroom. "Take your time," Sebastian said. I went back out into the entry hall and saw our feline hostess ushering 2 lovely young women from the front door to a curtain across the hall. Then she turned to see me. "Terry," she said, warm and familiar, "are you enjoying yourself?" "Yes, thanks," I replied, "but I was looking for—" "Oh, of course, darling, this way." She walked to another curtain and pulled it aside, revealing an elegant staircase. Up and first left. Could she tell I was a little woozy? With a gentle touch of my arm, she led me through. "Explore," she said, with a gentle amusement as the curtain fell behind me. I was suddenly alone on the unexpected staircase. The quiet sounds of music and voices were completely muted. The stairs curved up to the first floor, where I stopped to get my bearings. I found the first door to the left and the private restroom I needed to gather myself. It was tiled all in black, including a black toilet and matching bidet. I peed, washed my hands and face, drying myself on small white hand towels, which I then dropped into a basket under the sink. Refreshed, I stepped back out into the hallway. Explore, the lady had said. Well, there were closed doors along the hallway. More than beckoning, they seemed alive with promise. I now needed no guessing to imagine what this no-name club was all about. The first door on my right. I leaned close, listening. Music pulsed quietly, almost soothingly. I turned the door handle slowly and peeked my head inside. The room was draped in Indian fabric, including numerous gossamer veils suspended from the ceiling surrounding two low beds, one on each side of the room. Indistinct figures, naked bodies, 3 on each bed, were writhing in the dim light. No one noticed as I listened to the breathy moans of women and men completely engaged. It was like a movie, removed, untouchable, voyeuristic. I eased the door shut and ventured down the hall. White light pulsing through a space at the bottom of another door caught my attention. As I came closer, I saw it was not one light, but fast blinking lights, and the quiet thumping bass of very modern electronic music coming from inside. I eased the door open and was blasted by the rapid light and pitch darkness of a strobe light. The room was painted entirely black, and there were more thin veils suspended around a large bed in the center of the room. As my eyes adjusted, I saw the naked bodies, maybe 6 or 7. It was impossible to tell. They were pressed together in a single form, strangely animated in the fast flickering light. It took a moment to realize they were all young men, a primordial cluster entwined like snakes in a writhing orgy. I stepped in and closed the door behind me. As I watched unnoticed, it didn't take me long to become aroused. No one seemed to notice as I took off my jacket. Only then I was reminded of my camera. I quickly pulled it out and aimed at the bed. The quick whine of the picture ejecting blended with the music. I tucked the camera and single frame back in the bag and undressed completely. A face freeze-framed in the strobing lights, our eyes connected. It was Timothy Haddock. His hand reached out. Someone mounted him from behind, and he winced with sweet pain that quickly melted into a kind of satisfied exhale. He gripped me harder and drew me in. I was instantly entangled, kissed by one, sucked by another, stroked and tongued. Timothy gripped my hand for a long time until the tide of shifting flesh pulled us apart and we were swallowed in the undertow. Whoa, okay. Important scene, as you may guess. We will continue next time as the evening proceeds. Thank you for following along.